Hola guys, I'm Diego, and welcome back. We should be on episode 3 here. Now I do want to go over a few things. I have been fairly busy, as you can see. I have quite a bit of gravel here. I have been fairly busy in my off time between last episode and now, mostly doing a lot of material farming simply to prepare for the next few quests. But what I realized is that I did do a few things here that I think you guys may want to see. So I'm going to go ahead, actually I got my head earlier when I died up there. So I'm going to cut here, I'm going to figure out what exactly I need to show you guys, and then I will show you guys, and then we'll continue from there. Alright guys, so first and foremost, you may or may not have noticed that there is a road here. There's a sign on the other side of the road. We're going to praise the road. I'm afraid of the road because it wants us to praise it. Anyways, there's a road. Now, one other thing that I wanted to show you guys here, I did expand this, I believe I've shown this before, but the reason I started over here is because I've actually gone ahead and dropped water all over the place, quite literally all over the place. So if I fall, I have lots of water to catch myself, not just the one little stream it gives. Now, I figured it's a good idea to do so, gives me lots of extra options. And yeah, now the other thing, now I also have talked about this before, the Crucible from Ex Nihilo. This is something that is very important. I may not have mentioned that earlier, but it is very important. I would highly recommend getting this ASAP in this map, mainly because you can use it to smelt your cobble into lava. Now you do need a heat source underneath. I'm using a torch, which is one of the worst. You can use lit netherrack. You can actually use furnaces that are in use, or lit furnaces apparently. I'm not sure how that works. And I believe lava can be used as well, but I'm not 100% sure on that. At any rate, torches are the slowest, and you do need quite a few pieces of cobble, but it does eventually give you one bucket. I've got a little bit more than a bucket in there, so that's why it's kind of sitting at the bottom. Now, once you get yourself a bucket of lava, obviously, or hopefully obviously, you'll now be in a position to make yourself a cobble generator. Now, this is fairly important. You will no longer have to farm trees for saplings, to make dirt using a barrel, to collect stones using a sieve, to make cobble, to then make stuff. This is considerably faster because it cuts out, 200 of the middle steps. Apparently I left the giant hole there. There we go. Now I left it like that so that when I'm digging, and I don't, well, I'll do it this way, so that I can aim down here and I can just hold the button, not have to worry about accidentally losing anything, so on and so forth. Now as you can see, I do have quite a bit of gravel here. Now here's my personal recommendation for farming cobble. Use, if I can locate it, use the flint pickaxe you make at the beginning. Simply because the more you use it, the more it upgrades, it gets luck, it gets reinforced, it gets better. Now, you may say, how do you use, 300 uses? Well, this is upgraded twice, so if you've done about 7, almost 800 uses on this thing, it typically only has about 75 uses in total, give or take, with the unbreaking or reinforced on it. Now, you might be wondering, how exactly do you get around that? Well, here's how. After you've gotten yourself this, gotten yourself the cobble farm, use the pick, break the cobble, and break down your cobble into gravel. Now, I will be honest, I do believe if you break your cobble down to gravel, then sand, and then dust, final step being dust, I do believe you get a little bit more resource-wise out of the dust, simply because it gives you more pieces of ore, or slightly different pieces of ore. I could be mistaken on the amount. I do know that it does drop some different things, such as Certus quartz, which is fairly important for AE. However, or at least to get started with, I would highly recommend using gravel, simply because you can get flint from it. As you can see, I have quite a bit of flint, and one piece of flint actually heals the pickaxe for about half of its health, which is fairly important. So if you break it down into gravel, get yourself a decent amount of flint, you can easily collect a decent amount of ore. And as you can see, I've been doing this for a while. This is from about, I think, 3 or 4 stacks of gravel, so it does take a fair amount of time, and it honestly is fairly slow. but it is well worth it. Now I'm going to go ahead and process the rest of this, get myself some more materials, and once I've done so, we will take a look at some of the quests we can now complete and hopefully move onwards towards making some progress in this quest pack. Alright guys, so just to give you an idea of how much materials you can actually get from basically the amount of gravel there that I had. The top two rows is and the coal is entirely fresh, minus one or two of a few of these. The majority of that is all from that past mining experience. I will give you this, it takes forever to right-click this. My first and hopefully fastest goal here will actually be to get an autonomous activator, or 3. You can actually use them on this and it will right click for you, which can actually greatly speed things up. So I'm hoping to do that. Like I said, it is a very, very, very slow process right now. Just by doing it by hand, you literally sit there for a ridiculous amount of time. I'd like to try and get a couple of these set up and hopefully automate them at some point, but for now I'm going to go ahead and process this and show you guys the final output in just a moment. Alright guys, now I am just in the process of waiting for a few things to smelt down. Now I did want to take a quick look at the book just to show you guys what's going on here. With the dust in the wind, that's this quest here, we first have to get ore gravel, which takes a while. Then we need the ore sand. Now this requires, instead of using gravel, to use sand, so I'm going to go ahead and do that just to try and complete this quest. It'll probably also need dust as well, so I'm going to go ahead and do that on my end here. I'll just be a few moments. Hola guys, welcome back. Now just a quick look here. This is about how much material, or rather how many ingots I've gotten of each type. Aluminum's rough, I actually dumped that back in there before I moved these. But this is about how much you can expect to get from about 4 or 5.5 stacks of gravel. As you can see, it's a lot of work for a fairly small amount of resources. So this is definitely one of those things you want to get automated as quickly as possible so you can leave it running and not have to worry about it. Now this does rather beg the question, how exactly would you store all that? Well, you could either use the barrels, or you could use an AE system, which obviously requires a lot of work. But regardless, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this away, and I'm going to get the sand that we needed from before to finish that quest off. Alright guys, welcome back. We do have the iron ore dust and the iron ore sand. The rest of the stuff there I did just throw in the chest, so it's just kind of kicking around, but the majority of it I've processed, and if I did need it, I pretty much got rid of it just because I'm not planning on using the sand and the dust for a while. So unless it was majorly important, I just kind of got rid of it for now. I know, waste materials, but anyways, didn't take long. So, at any rate, let's go ahead and pull this up. So we needed gravel, we needed sand, and we needed dust, and I've already done both of these. Alright. Now, one thing that is important, and is actually fairly interesting, I do believe that the dusts act, at least in this case, it does appear that dusts, at any rate, can actually be pulverized into 2 different things just based on that book there. I'm not sure about the sand or the gravel, so it is actually worth breaking them down and then processing them through a pulverizer. However, as I don't have one right now, it doesn't really make a difference. But in the future, that is something that you'll want to be aware of. You can actually pulverize things. They act as a normal ore, so that can be a good way of doubling your outputs. So now that we've finished this, I'm just going to go ahead and grab a rewards bag. I'm going to finish that. We actually, I think, have enough for a full heart. Yeah, buddy, there we go. Alright, so we've got ourselves that. Now let's take a look at the next quest that we get. Apparently the next one would be this, but we first have to do the smeltery. So this does require a fair amount of work, mostly with grout and things of that nature, so I'll probably go ahead and collect those on my own time, just simply because I'm a little bit lazy. Now the fungus stuff, I might also work towards that on my own time here, because I am going to call this an episode. I'll also try and process this stuff here, the bone and rotten flesh. It's usually not a big deal to actually get all that, just time consuming. Oh, there we go. That's nice. Much better. Alright guys, well like I said, I'm going to call it an episode here. I probably will do some more in my off time, try and prepare for the next couple quests, specifically the I'm smelting quest here, simply because this will allow us to start processing some of our ores in a little bit more organized fashion. My personal preference, to be honest, is to use thermal expansion, but that's fairly high in actual resources or resource requirements, and we don't have any way of getting power currently, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. I might make myself some autonomous activators. I believe that's actually this thing here, so we might skip a step just to try and make this a little bit more automated, just because I don't like spending an hour trying to process stuff. Like, it takes like 5 minutes to collect all the cobble into gravel. It takes like an hour to actually turn it from gravel into materials. But at any rate, we are moving along. We're about 41% complete. As you can see, we are making progress. At some point, we'll have reached the end of this. Hopefully, within the next couple episodes, I'm going to try and complete these 3. Hopefully, like I said, the Mary had a butcher shop should be easy. It's just setting up an area for spawning. I'll probably do that off in that general direction, just to keep things nice and organized. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. I'll try and set up a few things, like I said, for the next episode, but I do have to cut this one short simply because I'm on a little bit of a time restriction here. And I'm going to try and get this up fairly shortly. Try and get the next one up fairly shortly as well. It's one of those things. These will probably be released, well, rather, let me rephrase that. I do have content from now until, well, today is the 4th of April. No, today is the 5th of April, my bad. But anyway, it's the 5th of April. I have content scheduled until about May the 7th, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday between now and then. What I am probably going to do is release these as I'm able to on the nearest upload date or the second nearest upload date, just to make sure that I have these uploaded fairly shortly while they're still fairly relevant, and so I'm not too far behind in terms of actually progressing through the packs. Obviously, I'm not going through them quite as fast as some people are, but you know, I figure it can be fairly useful. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions on better ways to do things, or any ideas on what I can do to try and make this a little bit faster process for you guys, just let me know. I'm always open to suggestions. And if you have any people you know that are looking for a decent Let's Play, hopefully you're willing to suggest this to them. I'd definitely appreciate it. And with that said, thank you guys for watching. I've been Diego, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.